My name is Maddie Brooks, and once upon a time, I built an empire out of nothing but sheer willpower and sleepless nights. $50 million worth of vision and grit, brick by brick, deal by deal, sacrifice after sacrifice. Every late night, every empty holiday chair, every relationship I left to rot, I fed them all to my company because I believed it would love me back. I believed it would be enough. But in the end, all it earned me was the word useless, spat at me by my own sister, and a look from my father so sharp it carved out whatever was left of my faith and family. It didn't unravel all at once. No, betrayal rarely does. It began as whispers I couldn't quite catch, eyes sliding away from mine at a gala that should have been drenched in my triumph. Then came the knives drawn in the boardroom, papers thrust across mahogany by the hand of my own blood. Sam, my sister. The signatures that stripped me of my title, my legacy, my father's approval, inked while he stood beside her, silent, not defending me, not even pretending to hesitate, just watching. They believed that was the end of me, that I'd fold, crawl into obscurity, lick my wounds in silence, and let them parade around in the crown I forged. But they forgot one simple truth. If I could build an empire once, I could burn it down, and build another, and this time, I wouldn't be so forgiving. The night it began again, the air bit against my skin as I stepped out of the black town car, its door closing behind me with the finality of a gavel. My heels struck against polished marble as I crossed the grand entrance of the Atoria. Gilded doors opened to swallow me whole, spilling me into a ballroom drenched in excess, gold chandeliers glinting above, white linens stretched smooth over every table, the scent of champagne and ambition clinging to the air like perfume. Tonight was supposed to be my celebration. Brooke & Company had just secured its largest international deal. 2 years of my life funneled into contracts, negotiations, compromises, and relentless hours. Tonight was my reward. And yet, something pulsed wrong beneath the surface. I could feel it the moment I walked in. Smiles that were too thin, voices that cut off like snapped strings when I approached. Investors I had bled for offering me polite nods instead of warmth. The air hummed with something I couldn't name. My heart tried to ignore it, to steady itself with the lie. This is your night. You earned this. Derek appeared almost instantly, whiskey glass in hand, sharp gaze sweeping across my face, like he was scanning me for fractures. You're late, he murmured. The low edge in his voice meant only for me, not late, I corrected, tilting my chin up, forcing a smirk, arriving with impact. He didn't return the smile, just exhaled through his nose, his jaw tightening. Something's going on, Maddie. I don't like it. I brushed him off, plucking champagne from a server's tray, swallowing bubbles that burned sharper than they should have. You're always suspicious before big events. Before he could argue, the room shifted. I didn't even have to turn to know why. Sam had arrived. The chandeliers seemed to shine brighter just for her as she descended the staircase. Draped in midnight blue, radiant smile crafted to pierce through every eye in the room. While I had spent 2 years grinding my soul into dust to secure this deal, she had perfected the art of stealing the stage. A nearby waiter brushed past me, and I caught the tail end of a whisper. She doesn't even see it coming. My hand tightened around the flute until I feared it would shatter, and then I saw him. William Brooks, my father, our father, striding towards Sam, his face soft in a way I hadn't seen in years. His hand clapped her shoulder, his voice booming across the crowd. My daughter Sam, a natural leader, wouldn't you say? The room murmured its approval. Not a single mention of the deal, not a single acknowledgement of the blood I'd spilled for this company. Derek leaned close, his voice knife-sharp. You see what I mean now? I forced my lips into a smile, lifting my glass in a hollow toast. It's just William being William, I muttered. But inside, my certainty crumbled. Something was happening, and I was already steps behind. The rest of the evening blurred. Handshakes, hollow laughter, mechanical small talk. My body moved through the motions while my mind spiraled. By the time dessert landed in front of me, a delicate chocolate souffle I might have once savored, I couldn't even taste it. The unease had settled deep in my gut, heavy as stone. I slipped outside, onto the balcony, pulling in a breath of crisp night air, the city sprawling out before me in glitter and steel. But instead of feeling powerful, instead of seeing proof of what I had built, I felt small, smaller than I'd ever felt before. Maddie. Derek's voice cut through the quiet, low and urgent. I turned. His jaw was set, fists curling at his sides. There's something you don't know about tomorrow's board meeting. My pulse faltered, the cold air slicing deeper now, carrying warnings I should have seen long ago. And then, just as the clock would strike on everything I had left, I heard it. My father's voice, colder than stone, in the silence of a boardroom where time itself seemed to stop. Maddie, sit down. The rhythmic tick of the antique clock echoed like a hammer in the room as I looked at the faces of the board, calm, unreadable, masks I could no longer trust. The air inside that boardroom was heavier than oxygen had any right to be. It clung to my lungs, thick and suffocating, laced with something I couldn't quite name. Anticipation, tension, maybe even regret. My eyes swept across the table and landed on her. Sam, sitting at my father's side like she had always belonged there, posture carved from marble, lips curved into the faintest smirk. She didn't even bother to look surprised at my presence. Why would she? This wasn't a meeting. This was an execution. Derek lingered in the far corner, arms folded tight across his chest, his expression unreadable. But I knew him too well. The rigid line of his stance, the way his jaw flexed, told me everything. He already knew what was coming, and still, he had said nothing. William cleared his throat. The sound was deliberate, cutting through the silence like a gavel. He shifted in his chair, feigning discomfort, but the sharp gleam in his eyes betrayed him. Maddie, he said, voice flat, rehearsed. We've made a decision regarding the company's leadership. The walls seemed to press inward, the room shrinking until I could hear nothing but the tick of the antique clock and the furious hammering of my own pulse. My hands gripped the edge of the chair, knuckles blanching white, the leather cool and unforgiving beneath my nails. Sam flipped lazily through a stack of documents in front of her, the rhythmic tap of her polished nails echoing in my skull. She didn't look at me, not at first. She didn't have to. Her voice carried across the table, smooth and poised, sharpened with cruelty only I could hear. Brooks and Company needs a leader with a broader vision, someone who understands the corporate world on a strategic level. I blinked, the words stinging as though they had been poured into my ears, drop by drop. Excuse me? That was when she finally lifted her gaze. For just a moment I caught it, victory, dancing bright in her eyes like firelight. Effective immediately, she continued, every syllable dripping satisfaction. I will be stepping in as the new CEO. The words slapped me harder than any hand could. My chest constricted, my eyes snapped to William, searching, begging, no, needing him to intervene, to say this was wrong, to say this was a mistake. But instead, he nodded, calm, cold, certain. This is what's best for the company, Maddie. I hope you'll understand. Understand? My grip on the chair deepened until I thought the wood might splinter beneath my nails. My pulse roared in my ears, but I forced my voice to stay steady. Even. You're removing me? After everything I've done for this company. Sam leaned forward, resting her chin lightly on her interlaced fingers. Her performance flawless. Did you really believe you built this alone? My stomach lurched. She tilted her head, feigning sympathy so flawlessly it made me sick. While you were busy designing products and managing the day-to-day, I was securing the future. Investors want more than ideas, Maddie. They want leadership, stability, vision. My lips parted, but no words came. William's gaze never wavered. He was waiting for my response, but what was left to say? That I had given them my years, my youth, my very self. That every success they were celebrating now had been forged from my sleepless nights, my lonely mornings, my hollowed-out life. And yet here I was, disposable. How long? The question slipped out, my voice quieter than I intended. Sam arched one perfectly sculpted brow. How long have we been planning this? She repeated, almost savoring it. She leaned back in her chair, with a careless exhale. Months. The answer sliced through me. Months. They had been carving me out of my own empire for months. I searched the room desperately, scanning the faces of board members who had once praised me.
Toasted me, leaned on me.
Nothing. Blank stares, empty masks. And then Derek, my Derek, the man who had warned me. You poor, the one person I thought might still stand by me. He couldn't even meet my eyes. Unbelievable, I murmured, more to myself than to them. William leaned back, folding his hands as though this was business as usual. You'll receive a generous severance package, of course. My body went cold. A severance package. That was what my life's work had been reduced to. A check and a pat on the head. Let's not be dramatic. Sam sighed, her smirk deepening. You'll be well taken care of. I stared at her, fury surging through me so hot, I thought it might tear through my skin. My chest rose and fell with the force of it. But my words came out clear, sharp. You'll regret this, Sam. Her smile widened, slow and cruel, doubtful. The room constricted around me, the air pressing down until I couldn't breathe. I pushed my chair back, the scrape of its legs against the hardwood slicing through the silence like a scream. Not one person stopped me. Not one voice called after me. My heels echoed against the marble floor as I walked out, each step a promise. They thought this was the end. They had no idea it was only the beginning. I kept my chin high, shoulders squared. Every step out of that boardroom a defiant march. But the moment the elevator doors slid shut, the weight of it all slammed into me like a collapsing building. My title, gone. My father lost. My sister, not just a rival now, but my greatest enemy. The silence inside that elevator was suffocating, broken only by the mechanical hum as it carried me down. I stared at my reflection in the polished metal walls, jaw set, eyes burning, and whispered to the woman staring back. This isn't over, not even close. They thought I'd walk away quietly. They thought wrong. Hours later, I found myself in a dimly lit cafe tucked between the arteries of the city. Rain streaked the windows, blurring neon lights into streaks of color. The air smelled faintly of roasted beans, bitter and comforting, but I barely noticed. My fingers drummed against the warm ceramic of my untouched coffee cup, the rhythm steady, deliberate, like a warning signal. Across from me sat Derek. He studied me with those sharp eyes of his, expression unreadable, though the weight of his silence pressed as heavily as the storm outside. Finally, his voice broke the quiet. Honestly, I wasn't sure. His tone was careful, measured. But I know you, Maddie. You don't quit. You don't back down. I let out a slow breath, tilting my head, voice low and hollow. Then why do I feel like I've already lost? He leaned forward, elbows planted on the table, gaze fixed on mine. Because you're still in shock. But this isn't over, not even close. The words hung between us like smoke. I wanted to believe them. I wanted to anchor myself in his certainty, but doubt gnawed at me, relentless. My nails scraped lightly against the porcelain cup as I whispered. They didn't just take my position, Derek. Sam didn't just steal a title. She took my legacy, and William, my throat tightened. He let her. Derek exhaled sharply, jaw tightening. William made his choice. That doesn't mean it was the right one. I turned toward the rain-slick glass, eyes following the blur of headlights cutting across the wet pavement. My mind replayed the scene again and again. Sam's smug smile, William's cold nod, the boardroom's collective silence, as they deemed me disposable. For the first time in my life, I didn't know what to do next. Come on, Derek said suddenly, tapping his fingers against the table, pulling me back from the edge. We need a plan. I scoffed, shaking my head, bitter laughter catching in my throat. A plan to do what? Sue my own company? Drag Sam to court? She's already outmaneuvered me. She played this too well. She got to the investors first. She had months to prepare. And my voice cracked. I swallowed hard. I didn't see it coming. He didn't answer. Instead, he slid his briefcase onto the table and unlatched it with a deliberate click. My brows furrowed as he pulled out a worn manila folder, its edges creased with time. "What's that?" I asked, suspicion dripping into my tone. "Your way back in." His voice carried an edge of triumph. Skepticism twisted in my chest. My eyes flicked between him and the folder. "Derek, just look at it." I hesitated, then pulled it closer. The file was heavier than it looked, and as I flipped it open, the air seemed to shift around me. My breath caught when I saw the first page. An old contract. One I hadn't thought about in years, back when I had restructured Brooks and Company during our international expansion. My fingers skimmed over the familiar legal jargon, each word tugging at half-buried memories. And then I saw it. The clause. My pulse quickened. Derek leaned in, tapping the highlighted section with the end of his pen. "You still own 49% of the company, Maddie. And this," he gestured toward the clause, eyes glinting, "gives you leverage. If Brooks and Company changes its core business model without your consent, you have the legal right to challenge their leadership. You can reclaim your stake." The words blurred for a moment as I tried to process them. 49%, almost half. Power I hadn't even realized I still held. I sat up straighter, a spark flickering alive in the ashes of my defeat. "And Sam doesn't know this." Derek's lips curved, the faintest shadow of a smile. "I doubt she even remembers it exists. She was too busy playing politics while you were actually running the company." For the first time since this morning, the ice in my chest began to crack. Something shifted deep inside me. Sharp, electric, dangerous. This wasn't over. This was the beginning. A spark ignites inside me. Small, dangerous, and yet achingly familiar. Hope, not the gentle kind that keeps people dreaming, but the sharp-edged kind that whispers of fire and ruin, of reclaiming what was stolen. I snap the folder shut and lift my eyes to Derek's. "We need to make sure she takes the bait," I tell him quietly, my pulse steady but electric. "She has to make a move that triggers this clause. Otherwise, all of this is just paper." Derek grins at me, leaning back as though he's been waiting for this version of me to resurface. Now that's the Maddie I know. His confidence feels like a match striking against stone, feeding my own resolve. Meanwhile, across the city, in an office that should still belong to me, Sam Brooks leans back in the chair that was once mine. Floor-to-ceiling glass surrounds her, giving her a bird's-eye view of a skyline she thinks she's conquered. Emails of praise and congratulations flood her screen, her assistant shuffling quietly in the background, with yet another cup of coffee she barely acknowledges. Then her phone vibrates. She doesn't expect what she sees. A message from an unlisted number. "Your sister built this company's reputation. You just took the title. Prove you deserve it." I imagine the way her jaw must have tightened, the way that fleeting chill must have crawled beneath her expensive blazer. Victory, I think, always comes with a price tag. And Sam is beginning to realize she can't afford it. Back in the cafe, I slip the contract into my bag, the leather strap heavy across my shoulder. My mind has already begun spinning the next move. This isn't about reclaiming a job title anymore. It's about dismantling everything she believes she's secured. It's about erasing the illusion she built, and reminding her exactly who carved the foundation. The confrontation happens sooner than expected. I step into my office, the one she's drenched in sleek black leather and cold gold accents. The kind of interior design that screams money but whispers desperation. She looks up, hissing through her teeth. "You don't just walk into my office without an appointment, Maddie." There's venom in her tone, but her eyes, those eyes betray a flicker of fear. I take my time. Every step across that marble floor is a reminder. This space remembers me, even if she wishes it didn't. It used to be my office. I say, lowering myself into the chair opposite her desk with deliberate calm. I don't need an appointment. She leans back, feigning ease, draping her arm along the armrest like she's queen of some fragile empire. So what? You came to beg for your job back. If so, this is pathetic. I let a slow smile curl at the corners of my mouth. No, I say softly, each word carrying weight. I came to remind you that I'm still here. She scoffs, tapping her nails against the polished glass surface between us. You don't have anything left, Maddie. No title, no authority, no leverage. She tilts her head like she's already written me off. You're irrelevant now. I fold my hands in my lap, masking the storm in my chest with unreadable stillness. Then why do you sound nervous? Her jaw tenses, a microscopic betrayal, before she laughs, brittle and too loud. You're delusional. Maybe. I keep my voice light, almost teasing. Or maybe you're not as untouchable as you think. For the first time, I see it. Uncertainty flickering behind her eyes, just a hairline crack in her facade, but enough for me to wedge a crowbar into. She straightens, smoothing her blazer, reaching for composure like a lifeline. Glare at me all you want, but it doesn't change the facts. You lost. Broken Company is mine now. I hum softly under my breath, feigning contemplation. Funny. I murmur. That's exactly what I used to think. Her face falters, irritation breaking through her veneer. She expected me broken, expected tears or rage. But I won't give her the gift of my weakness. Instead, I rise from the chair with the quiet dignity of someone who already knows the ending. Enjoy your throne while it lasts, Sam. Nothing stays the same forever. I leave her in silence, her eyes drilling into my back as I slip into the hallway. The tension drains from my shoulders the moment I'm free of her presence. Around me, employees glance up, some with nervous half-smiles, others quickly averting their gaze. They know, even if they won't admit it, the balance of power is shifting. Outside, Derek waits by the curb, leaning casually against his car, his eyes scanning me like he's trying to gauge the outcome before I speak. How did it go? He asks. I exhale through my nose, sliding my sunglasses into place. She's predictable. He tilts his head, and I smirk, a slow curl of satisfaction. She's scared. That night, the game escalates. I sit in a dimly lit corner of an upscale steakhouse, across from Richardson, one of the company's oldest and most influential shareholders. He swirls the amber liquid in his glass, his sharp eyes dissecting me like I'm both threat and opportunity. Finally, he leans back and asks, "So Maddie, what exactly are you proposing?" I lift my glass, letting the wine touch my lips before setting it back down with deliberate care. A safety net, I say smoothly, for you, for the company. We both know Brooklyn wasn't built on Sam's vision. Investors trusted me to steer the ship. Now she's at the helm, making reckless decisions that will sink it. He strokes his chin, weighing my words. And what makes you so sure she'll fail? I meet his gaze evenly, because she believes the title makes her untouchable. The moment she redirects this company without investor consent, the illusion will shatter. And when it does, you'll want someone ready to pick up the pieces. He doesn't answer immediately, but I see it, the shift in his eyes, the gears beginning to turn. He's not ready to commit, not yet, but curiosity is a door, and I've already placed my foot inside. Later that night, across the city, Sam sits in her office, alone, her desk illuminated by the pale glow of her computer screen, reports stacking up in neat digital rows. Then her phone buzzes, and I know she'll read what I've prepared. The message comes in just after midnight, the glow of my phone cutting through the dim kitchen light. Your sister is making moves. You need to stop her before she gets too far. For a moment, my chest tightens. I can almost feel her shadow stretching across the city, reaching into places that should never belong to her. Sam thinks she can keep me buried. She thought I'd stay silent, broken, irrelevant. She thought wrong. I stare at the words until the letters blur, then set the phone down hard against the counter. A war, that's what this is now. And if she wants one, she'll have to learn that I don't lose battles. Not anymore. I press my palms into the cool marble of the kitchen island, breathing through the simmer of anger rising in my chest. Derek's voice cuts into the silence, low but insistent. You need to be careful, Maddie. Sam won't hesitate to destroy you if she has to. I let out a dry laugh that holds no humor. She already tried. She stole my company. What more can she do? There's a pause on the line, heavy and warning. Then Derek exhales sharply. You're underestimating her. I don't answer because deep down I know he's right. Sam has always been ruthless, a predator with perfect timing, and predators don't stop once they've tasted blood. Across town, in her glass tower of an office, Sam leans across from a man in a charcoal suit, his movements polished and precise. He flips through a stack of documents, his voice measured. We need to paint a different picture of Maddie, he tells her. If people doubt her past leadership, they won't trust her to stage a comeback. I imagine Sam's lips curling into that snake smirk, the one that's haunted me since the day she walked into my boardroom like she belonged there. And how do we do that? She asks. Knowing full well the answer, the man taps the papers with one manicured finger. We control the narrative, highlight every risk she took, every near miss, every gamble, make them question if she was ever truly competent. Sam nods, her voice sharp as a blade. Do it. The next morning, I know before I even check that something's wrong. My phone won't stop buzzing, vibrating across the countertop like it wants to leap away from me. I rub my temples, bracing myself before I finally pick it up. Derek's name flashes on the screen. You need to see this, he says the second I answer. Within minutes, I'm at my laptop, pulling up the article he mentioned. Business Insider. The headline hits me like a slap. Was Maddie Brooks's success a lie? Inside the questionable leadership of Brooke and Company, my breath hitches, sharp and shallow, as I scroll. It's a careful piece of character assassination, half-truths dressed as revelations, outright lies dressed as fact. My strategies are called reckless, my leadership labeled unstable. They paint me as erratic, a gambler, someone who stumbled into power and nearly destroyed everything. On the television across the room, CNBC is airing a panel discussion. The problem with Maddie Brooks, one commentator says, adjusting his tie with smug finality, is that she never truly fit the mold of a traditional CEO. Creativity doesn't always equal leadership. Another nods along eagerly. And let's not forget, Brooke and Company wasn't built in isolation. Her sister Sam Brooks has been instrumental in stabilizing the company's future. A bitter laugh escapes my lips before I can stop it. Stabilizing? No, she stole it. She ripped it out of my hands, and now she wants to rewrite history. My phone rings again. Derek's voice is tight, urgent. Maddie, we have a problem. Someone leaked internal documents, fake ones. They make it look like you were involved in financial mismanagement before you stepped down. The room spins for a second. I grip the counter to steady myself. It's bad. Derek continues, his tone clipped. They're already circulating through investor circles. People are starting to wonder if you really ran the company as cleanly as you claimed. My pulse hammers against my ribs, the sound roaring in my ears. Sam, I whisper. It has to be her. Can we prove they're fake? We're working on it. But perception is everything, Maddie. And right now, the perception is that you're a liability. I close my eyes, forcing the air into my lungs. She's not just trying to beat me. She's trying to erase me. My company wasn't enough. Now she wants my reputation, my legacy, my name, but she's forgetting one thing. I don't go quietly. An hour later, I walk into a glass-walled boardroom in the heart of downtown, the city skyline stretching endlessly behind me. My heels echo against the polished floor as I step forward, steady, controlled. A major investor is waiting inside. And then I see her, Sam, already seated, legs crossed, a smug smile tugging at her mouth. Our eyes meet like steel striking steel. You didn't think I'd just sit back and watch, did you? She purrs, her arms folding over her chest. The tension is a living thing, coiling in the air, thick enough to choke on. Investors line either side of the long mahogany table, their polished shoes reflecting on its pristine surface. Every face is a mask of expectation, judgment, power. I tighten my grip on the chair, before pulling it back and taking my seat. Sam leans back, radiating arrogance as if she owns not just the room but the very oxygen inside it. At the head of the table, Mr. Caldwell clears his throat, his gaze sharp on me. Maddie, there are serious concerns about your past leadership. Can you explain these financial discrepancies? I meet his eyes without a flicker of hesitation. They're fabricated, I say evenly. Designed to discredit me. His brows rise in skepticism. Fabricated? Before I can elaborate, Sam tilts her head, feigning innocent curiosity. Are you saying the records are fake, Maddie? Because the board has seen them. My jaw tightens. She's good, cutting me off at the knees, twisting the narrative before I can even stand. But I don't let it rattle me. I inhale deeply, straighten my shoulders, and speak with icy clarity. Let's be clear, this isn't about my past leadership. This is about control. Brook & Company has thrived under my direction for years. I say, my voice, cutting cleanly through the tension. And now that I'm gone, suddenly people are eager to rewrite history. A ripple of murmurs sweeps through the boardroom, low and uneasy. I see it. The flicker of doubt passing between investors who once sat silent during Sam's coup. Their confidence in her isn't unshakable, not when I remind them of what they already know. Good, let the cracks form. I lock eyes with Caldwell, my tone calm but edged with fire. You've seen my record. I took this company when it was floundering and rebuilt it brick by brick. I turned a struggling name into an industry leader. You've seen the growth, the numbers, the global expansions. And now, suddenly, I let the word hang in the air like a blade. Now discrepancies appear out of nowhere, conveniently at the very moment I question my removal. Sam exhales a sharp laugh, shaking her head as if amused. Conspiracies won't save you, Maddie. Facts will. I ignore her, turning my full attention to the room. What you don't know, I continue, my voice deliberately steady, is that someone inside Brook & Company wants to change everything, including who owns it. A beat of silence follows. Even the hum of the city beyond the glass feels muted. Across the table, Sam's fingers twitch against the polished surface, so subtle most wouldn't notice, but I do. You think this is about keeping the company strong? I lean forward, eyes sweeping over every face in the room. Look deeper. Ask yourselves, who benefits if I'm erased from the picture? The investors shift uncomfortably. Caldwell rubs his temples, frustration clouding his face. The silence stretches, heavy with suspicion. Finally, he exhales. We'll need to conduct our own internal review, he says at last, to verify these claims. Sam recovers quickly, her mask snapping back into place. Of course, she says smoothly, her tone laced with false sincerity. Transparency is important. I rise slowly, smoothing the front of my blazer, my gaze never leaving hers. It certainly is. Our eyes lock, the warning unspoken but sharp enough to cut. This isn't over. Later that night, my phone buzzes on the glass table beside me. Derek's name flashes across the screen. I snatch it up on the first ring. Tell me you have something. A pause. His voice drops, urgent. You're not going to believe this. My pulse spikes. What? I just got intel. Sam had a private meeting with a rep from Lancaster Group last week. My stomach twists. Lancaster Group, the fashion conglomerate that has been circling Brook & Company like a vulture for years, desperate to snatch it up. I grip the phone tighter. You're telling me she isn't just trying to take control, she's trying to sell the company. Exactly. Derek exhales. She's playing a whole different game, Maddie. I close my eyes for half a second, letting the weight of it settle in, then open them again, the city lights beyond the window sharpening into focus. My blood cools, my mind steadies, and just like that, the fear fades, replaced by clarity. If Sam wants to play dirty, I say, my voice low and deliberate, then let's see how she handles this. Hours later, we sit tucked away in the dim back room of a high-end steakhouse, hidden from the city's watchful eyes. The air is thick with the scent of seared meat and aged whiskey, but neither of us touches the food. Derek leans forward across the table, eyes fixed on me. You sure about this? I slide my phone toward him. The screen glows with a confidential document, one outlining Sam's secret meetings with Lancaster Group. Absolutely, I say. This is her endgame. Brook & Company isn't her prize. It's her bargaining chip. She's already looking for a buyer. Derek whistles under his breath, shaking his head. If the board finds out she's selling, they'll lose their minds. Exactly. My voice hardens, resolve settling like steel in my chest. We need to time this perfectly. If the press gets wind of this before she can control the narrative, she won't be able to bury it. For the first time in weeks, I feel it again. The shift, the spark. Not just survival, not just defense. The first move in my revenge. Derek drums his fingers against the polished oak table, eyes narrowed in thought, the dim steakhouse light catching the silver of his watch. I know a guy, he finally says, leaning back, his voice low. A journalist over at the Wall Street Report. He's careful, old school, won't print a word without verification. But if he runs it, he trails off, letting the weight of the implication hang in the air. My pulse doesn't even quicken. I've already committed. Good, I murmur, voice even. Every word sharpened with intent. Let's do it. Without hesitation, Derek pulls his laptop closer, the glow of the screen illuminating his sharp features. His fingers fly across the keys, the rapid clicks slicing through the muted restaurant chatter. We draft the message together, every word calculated, surgical, no traces left behind, no fingerprints. When the files are attached, the documents detailing Sam's secret meetings with Lancaster Group, it feels like placing a loaded weapon on the table, and when Derek presses send, it's as though a trigger has been pulled. The shot has already been fired, and now all we can do is wait for the echo. But the echo comes faster than I expected. By dawn, the business world is on fire. My phone screen glows with headline after headline, the words screaming at me from every angle. Brook & Company CEO Samantha Brooks, in talks to sell company to rival conglomerate. Power move or betrayal. Sources question stability of family-owned empire. Lancaster Group circling again. Inside the shocking rumors of a secret deal. I sit cross-legged on my couch, whiskey untouched at my side, scrolling through the frenzy. A small cold smile tugs at my lips. It's working. The doubt, the whispers. They've already sunk their claws into the board. The phone buzzes. Derek. His voice is practically glowing with satisfaction. Did you see it? Oh, I saw it. I reply softly, my eyes still on the headlines, and so did the board. Inside Brook & Company, chaos reigns. Sam storms into the conference room like a hurricane in heels, her manicured hand slamming the morning paper down onto the polished table. The sound echoes, sharp and violent, making the senior board members flinch. Their expressions are grim, shadows of betrayal etched across their faces. Explain this, demands Mr. Hathaway, his voice booming, arms crossed like a judge delivering a sentence. Were you planning to sell us out, Sam? Sam straightens, tugging her blazer into perfect alignment, her tone deceptively smooth. This, she says, gesturing at the paper, is taken completely out of context. Lancaster Group was interested in a partnership, not an acquisition. Hathaway isn't moved. He leans forward, eyes narrowing. A partnership? His laugh is bitter. Funny, the Wall Street Report seems to think otherwise. Miss Langford, cool and calculating, raises a brow. Sam, we supported you because you promised stability. What I see here is not stability. It's recklessness. Sam's jaw clenches. I have everything under control, she says flatly. But no one at that table believes her. She can see it in their eyes, and she knows without a shadow of a doubt Who's behind this? That night, in the quiet of my apartment, I pour a glass of whiskey and let the ice clink softly against the glass. For the first time in weeks, the burn feels earned. But before I can take a sip, my laptop pings. An email, no name, no address, just an anonymous sender. The subject line freezes me. You need to see this. Frowning, I click. One message, one instruction. I have information that can help you. Meet me tomorrow, 8 p.m. Don't trust anyone. My stomach knots. Derek notices immediately. What is it? I tilt the screen toward him, and he squints, his brow furrowing deep. Could be a setup, he mutters, or it could be the break we've been waiting for. I let the silence stretch. I can feel the weight of the choice pressing against me. If it's real, it could be the key to tearing Sam's empire apart, brick by brick. If it's not, it could cost me everything. You sure about this, Maddie? Derek finally asks, his voice heavier than usual. This could be dangerous. Hours later, behind the wheel, I grip the steering wheel tighter than I need to, the city lights blurring into streaks of gold and white as we cut through the downtown streets. I don't have a choice, I say, steady and calm despite the storm inside me. If they have intel on Sam, I need to hear it. Derek exhales, rubbing at his temple, watching the neon streaks pass by. Then don't let your guard down. Whoever this is, they stayed anonymous for a reason. I nod, though my eyes stay glued to the road. He's right, of course. This could be a trap. But revenge doesn't come without risk. And tonight, I'm willing to gamble everything. The bar is tucked away in the forgotten edges of the city, where shadows linger and memories die. A flickering red neon sign sputters above the doorway, casting the wet pavement in a ghostly glow. I park, kill the engine, and glance at Derek. You stay here, Maddie. I need to do this alone. He hates it. I can see it in his eyes. But after a long moment he nods. Fine, but I'll be watching. Inside, the bar smells of aged whiskey and cigarette smoke. A lazy jazz tune drifts from old speakers, filling the air with a melancholy hum. A few patrons sit scattered, lost in their drinks and their own regrets. And then I see her, a woman in her mid-40s, sharp eyes that could cut glass, blonde hair pulled back into a severe bun. She sits in the farthest booth, her fingers lazily stirring her drink, but her gaze locks on me the second I step inside. I slide into the seat across from her, my posture straight, my guard up. Mullen Brooks? She asks quietly, her voice calm but firm. I nod. You know my name. What's yours? She leans in slightly, her voice dropping. Eleanor Grayson, Senior Financial Officer. I worked for your father. My heart stutters, just for a beat. And now you work for Sam? I murmur. For now, she replies with a bitter twist of her mouth. But not for much longer. My eyes narrow. Why are you here? Eleanor exhales, then reaches into her bag. When she places the small USB drive on the table, it feels heavier than lead. Because what Sam is doing isn't just unethical, it's criminal. I stare at the drive, my pulse pounding. What's on it? Financial records, real ones. She manipulated the books, inflated revenue, falsified reports, funneled money into private accounts. She needed the board to see her as stable when she took over. But it's all built on lies, fraud. And if this gets out, Eleanor's gaze hardens. She's finished. I finally reach out, pick up the drive, and turn it between my fingers. It feels like holding the blade of a dagger. You're sure about this? I've been collecting proof for weeks, she says. The numbers don't lie, Maddie. Your sister's empire is a house of cards, and it's collapsing. Adrenaline floods my veins, but I keep my expression unreadable. Then it's time to bring it down. She leans back, studying me. Be careful. Sam isn't stupid. The second she realizes someone on the inside gave this to you, I slip the drive into my pocket, my voice low. Let her. Meanwhile, across town, Sam sits in her office, lips pressed into a razor-thin line. Her eyes skim over the security logs, glowing on her laptop. Someone's been poking around restricted files. Someone close. Her fingers tap against the desk. She should have known better. she murmurs. Whoever betrayed her, she vows silently, they won't get away with it. Back at my apartment, Derek paces while I slide the USB into my laptop. The screen explodes with documents, spreadsheets, transaction logs, an entire empire of lies laid bare in rows and columns. Jesus Christ, Derek mutters, leaning over my shoulder. She really did it. I scroll slowly, my pulse steady, my breath controlled. Every file is another nail in Sam's coffin. This is enough to challenge her legally. With this, we can prove to the board she's a fraud. Derek nods, though his expression is tense. Then we move carefully. The second she realizes, you've got this, she'll come for you. Before I can answer, my laptop dings. A new message. I click it open and freeze. A single text. That's all it takes to freeze the blood in my veins. Nice move, Maddie. But did you really think I wouldn't find out? The words glare back at me from an unknown number. My grip on the phone tightens until my knuckles ache. My stomach knots like barbed wire. Derek is suddenly at my shoulder, his breath hot as he leans over to read. His expression hardens. She knows, my chest pounds. She knows, Derek. And if we don't move fast, she'll torch everything before we can touch her. The walls of his office feel smaller now, the single desk lamp throwing long, restless shadows across the scattered papers and half-drained coffee cups. I pace the length of the room, every step punctuated by the thud of my heels and the roar of blood in my ears. Derek rubs his temples and exhales sharply. We need to verify every piece first. If we go public with something sloppy, Sam will spin it against you and you'll lose everything. I stop, plant both hands on the back of his chair, and stare him down. Then we work through the night. His eyes lock on mine for a beat before he nods. All right, let's burn her house down. The hours blur into a sleepless vigil. Spreadsheet after spreadsheet spills across the screen. The USB Eleanor gave me is a Pandora's box of corruption, revenue inflated beyond belief, phantom accounts stuffed with stolen funds, entire quarters rewritten to paint Sam as a savior, instead of the fraud she is. Every file is a weapon, every line of code a bullet, but time is our enemy. If Sam smells this evidence closing in, she'll shred the trail and salt the earth behind her. I snatch up my phone and scroll through my contacts, names of investors flashing past like potential allies on a battlefield. I know who to call first, Mrs. Linton. A woman who clawed her way to fortune, who has no patience for liars dressed in designer suits. My thumbs fly across the screen. A clipped message, a snippet of falsified numbers attached. Mrs. Linton. You've always valued integrity. I thought you should see this before it reaches you another way. Send. The quiet stretches taut. Derek watches me, arms crossed. And now, I murmur. Steady. We wait. The wait is shorter than I expected. My phone vibrates violently against the desk. A text. Maddie, what the hell is this? Call me. I don't hesitate. I dial. She answers on the first ring. Is this real? She demands, her voice like steel snapping. Don't play games with me, Maddie. Has Sam been lying about the financials? I breathe deep, my tone controlled, deliberate. I wouldn't bring this to you unless I was certain. And believe me, this is only the beginning. Silence. Then her voice drops to a whisper, almost conspiratorial. Does the board know? Not yet, I admit. But they will. A sharp exhale cuts through the line. I want a full financial report on my desk by the end of the week. If this proves true, Maddie, Sam is finished. A slow smile spreads across my face. That's exactly what I was hoping you'd say. By morning, whispers slither through the company like smoke. Investors murmur in hallways. The board grows restless, their confidence splintering, and Sam rages. She storms into her office with enough force to rattle the glass walls. The door slams, reverberating through the floor. Her assistant jumps at the crack of a folder hitting the desk. Find out who's leaking. Sam snaps, her voice a whip. The girl scurries out. Sam presses her fingertips into her temples, fury simmering in her bones. This was supposed to be hers. Every inch of Brooke and Company under her thumb. But me? I'm the ghost she can't kill, the shadow that keeps rising. Fine, she mutters to herself, eyes narrowing. If Maddie wants war, she'll get it. That afternoon, the board summons an emergency meeting. Sam's name is stamped at the bottom, her attempt to seize control of the fire before it spreads, but it's already too late. The glass-walled conference room is a pressure cooker. Board members sit stiff and watchful, fingers tapping against the sleek table, eyes sharp with suspicion. Sam takes her position at the head, shoulders squared, mask firmly in place. These rumors are nothing more than an attempt to destabilize us. She begins, her voice smooth, authoritative. We need unity now, not division. We cannot indulge speculation. A few nod, others exchange glances. The tension is thick enough to choke on. And then the doors swing open. Every head turns as I step into the room. My heels click like a metronome of defiance against the floor. Calm, controlled. My smile is a blade. Sam stiffens, her carefully rehearsed composure cracking for just a second. You're not supposed to be here, she hisses. I take the seat directly across from her, fold my hands neatly, and tilt my head. Oh, I think you'll want to hear what I have to say. Her eyes flash dark, but I'm no longer the sister she used to manipulate. I'm the executioner walking into her kingdom with the gallows in hand. Ladies and gentlemen, I say, sliding a thick manila folder onto the center of the table, my fingers pressing firmly against its edges. I have something very interesting to show you. The room stills. Not a whisper, not a cough, just the sharp inhale of anticipation. Sam leans back, arms crossed, jaw tight, but her nails betray her, scratching faint crescents into the polished wood beneath her fingers. Good, she's rattled. I flip the folder open. Printed spreadsheets, transaction records, internal emails. Eleanor's drive, now spread like ammunition in front of the board. These documents reveal financial discrepancies within Brooke and Company. I say evenly, letting the words roll heavy and deliberate. And they all began when Sam took over as CEO. The room erupts into murmurs. Chairs creak as bodies lean forward, eyes devouring the evidence. Sam scoffs, her mask snapping back into place. This is nonsense. Maddie's bitter, and she's grasping at straws because she couldn't handle losing her position. I let the accusation hang, then lean forward with a smile that doesn't reach my eyes. Am I? I slide one particular sheet toward the center of the table and tap a column of numbers that practically glows with falsification. Explain this, Sam. Then I leaned forward, my voice sharp enough to slice through the air. Then explain this. I tapped the page again, my finger steady, despite the adrenaline pumping through my veins. Revenue manipulation, inflated profit margins, phantom accounts that don't even exist. And somehow, miraculously, every single error conveniently benefits you, Sam. But I'm sure you have a perfectly reasonable explanation. Her nostrils flared, the faintest crack in her composure. You're grasping at straws, she snapped, her tone sharp, brittle. This is nothing but a desperate attempt to undermine me. I shrugged, deliberately calm. Then you won't mind if we conduct a full audit, will you? The room fell into absolute silence. Every board member turned toward Mr. Caldwell, the man who had been here since my father first built this company brick by brick. He leaned back in his chair, thumb grazing his chin, eyes narrowing, as though weighing the decades of loyalty against the undeniable truth, staring back at him. Finally, he spoke, his gravelly voice carrying the weight of judgment. That's a fair request. If there's nothing to hide, then an external investigation should clear everything up, right? For the first time all evening, I saw it. Fear, genuine, unmasked, and raw, flickering in Sam's eyes before she forced her mask back on. She opened her mouth to object, But Richard Greer's voice cut across hers like a knife, one of her strongest allies, a man she thought unshakable. Sam. Richard cleared his throat, adjusting his glasses, his expression edged with disappointment. I've stood by you, defended you even when it wasn't easy, but I can't ignore numbers like these. If you can't explain them, I won't be able to support you anymore. Sam stiffened, her fists curling so tightly, I thought she'd leave crescents in her palms. She was losing control, and we all knew it. The boardroom walls that once shielded her were crumbling brick by brick. This is ridiculous, she spat, but her voice cracked where it should have cut. Maddie is manipulating you all. She's playing a game, trying to get revenge because she lost. I tilted my head, my voice calm but piercing. You're right about one thing. I did lose something, but it wasn't just my position. It was my trust in you. The silence that followed was heavier than any shouting match could have been. Then Mr. Caldwell spoke again, decisive and unflinching. I'm calling for an external investigation into Brooke and Company's finances. Effective immediately. The words rippled through the room like a current. Some nodded, others exchanged wary glances, but no one objected. The decision was final. Sam shoved her chair back, the screech of wood against tile jarring in the quiet. Her glare cut across the room, landing on me like a curse. You'll regret this, she hissed through clenched teeth. I met her eyes, steady and cold. I doubt it, she stormed out, the echo of her heels reverberating through the corridor, until the door slammed shut behind her. The tension lingered like smoke. I exhaled slowly, then turned to Derek. This isn't over yet, I murmured. But we just made her bleed. Walking down the hallway, the hum of murmured voices behind us. I could almost feel the tide shifting. For the first time in months, the momentum was on my side. But Derek's warning came softly, almost like an omen. She's cornered Maddie. That makes her dangerous. And he was right. Sam Brooks didn't know how to lose, not gracefully, not quietly. By sunset, I stood at Derek's office window, Manhattan glowing gold and steel beneath me. The city looked endless, full of possibilities. But to me, it felt like a battlefield stretching to the horizon. The war wasn't finished, it was only beginning. Meanwhile, Sam's fury was detonating behind closed doors. She slammed her office door so hard a picture frame rattled on the wall. She paced like a predator, chest heaving, every thought racing with strategy and spite. Maddie humiliated her. Maddie drew first blood, and now with an external investigation looming, the empire she built on lies was beginning to crumble. Her assistant hovered nervously at the door. Miss Brooks, I have the investor reports you requested. Sam snatched the papers, eyes devouring every line. Shares were wavering, calls were flooding in, investors were nervous. Her teeth clenched until her jaw ached. This is Maddie's doing, she hissed. But if Sam Brooks was anything, she was a master manipulator. She knew the battlefield wasn't just in boardrooms, it was in headlines, interviews, whispers over cocktail dinners. She pushed her hair back, eyes gleaming with a dangerous resolve. Get me a primetime interview, she ordered. CNBC, Bloomberg, I don't care which, just make it happen. Her assistant rushed out, and Sam smirked to herself. Maddie thought she could sway public opinion. She thought she could tarnish Sam's image with a few spreadsheets. No, Sam would remind the world who Maddie really was. The next evening, I sat across from Richard Greer, in a sleek midtown restaurant. The aroma of seared steak and aged wine filled the air, but my appetite was long gone. Richard swirled his bourbon, watching me over the rim of his glass. You've put Sam in a bad position, he said finally, amusement flickering in his eyes. I held his gaze, steady. Sam put herself in that position. I just exposed it. He chuckled, leaning forward. Fair enough, but you know what's coming next, don't you? I nodded. She'll fight. She always does. Richard tapped the table with one thick finger. I'll be blunt, Maddie. I've been uneasy about her leadership for a while. If you can steady the company, you'll have my full support. Relief swelled in my chest, though I refused to show it. Instead, I inclined my head, my voice measured. That's all I needed to hear. The very next morning, Sam was on camera, looking composed, every hair in place. Brooke and Company has always been my father's legacy, she told the interviewer with just enough tremor in her voice to seem human, vulnerable. It's heartbreaking to see it torn apart by personal vendettas. The journalist tilted her head. You're referring to your sister. Sam glanced down, feigning hesitation, then back at the camera. Maddie is passionate, but she's letting her emotions dictate her actions. I'm trying to lead this company into the future, she's dragging it into the past. The interview aired within hours, her carefully curated soundbites plastered across every network, and it worked. The narrative shifted. Sam painted herself as the wounded leader, the victim fighting to save the family legacy from a reckless sister. I watched the broadcast play on a loop in Derek's office, arms crossed, fury simmering beneath my skin. Derek let out a low whistle. She's good, I'll give her that. She's lying, I snapped. True, he said, but people believe her, at least some do. My phone buzzed violently against the desk. Investors, journalists, board members, everyone wanted answers. And then another notification flashed across the screen. A headline: Maddie Brooks's troubled past, the untold story behind Brooke and Company. My stomach twisted, fingers trembling. I clicked. The article spilled across the screen. Half-truths, twisted facts, old wounds dragged into the light. Sam hadn't just struck back, she had gone for the jugular. A spark ignites inside me. Small, dangerous, achingly familiar. Not the soft kind of hope people cling to in the dark, but the sharper, hungrier kind, edged with fire and ruin. It whispers of reclamation, of vengeance, of balance being restored. I snap the folder shut with a decisive thud and lift my gaze to Derek's. We need her to take the bait, I murmur. Voice low, pulse thrumming, steady but electric. She has to make a move that triggers this clause. Otherwise, these pages are nothing but paper. Derek leans back in his chair, a grin spreading slowly across his face, like he's been waiting for this version of me to return. Now that's the Maddie I remember. His confidence strikes against mine like flint against stone, sending sparks into the kindling of my resolve. Across the city, Sam Brooks is draped in the trappings of power that never truly belonged to her. She leans back in the chair that used to be mine, staring out through the glass walls that pretend to make her untouchable. Her inbox is flooded with messages of praise, her assistant moving like a shadow with yet another untouched cup of coffee. And then her phone vibrates. She glances down, expecting adoration, only to find a blade slipped beneath the ribs. Your sister built this company's reputation. You just took the title. Prove you deserve it. I can almost see the way her jaw must tighten, the faint chill crawling under that expensive blazer. Victory, I know, always demands payment. And Sam is starting to realize she can't afford the price tag. Back in the cafe, I slip the contract into my bag, the leather strap pressing heavy against my shoulder. This isn't about titles anymore. It isn't even about my name on a plaque. No, it's about dismantling the fragile empire she's built on lies. About peeling back the illusion until there's nothing left for her to hide behind. The confrontation comes sooner than I expect. I step into my office, though she's desecrated it with sleek black leather and sterile gold accents. The Decker screams money, but whispers desperation, a hollow stage for her performance. She looks up sharply, lips curling. You don't just walk into my office without an appointment, Maddie. Venom drips from her tone, but her eyes, those betray her. Fear, quick and fleeting, like a crack in glass. I take my time crossing the marble floor. This space remembers me, even if she wants to erase me from it. It used to be my office, I say, lowering myself into the chair opposite hers, with deliberate ease. I don't need an appointment. She leans back, feigning ease, draping her arm along the chair like a monarch clutching a fragile crown. So what? She sneers. You came to beg for your job back? If so, this is pathetic. I let a slow smile tug at my lips, soft but sharp. No, I say, each word clipped and heavy. I came to remind you I'm still here. Her laugh is brittle, too loud. You don't have anything left, Maddie. No authority, no leverage, you're irrelevant. She tilts her head, pretending dismissal, but the tension in her jaw betrays her. I fold my hands, still and measured. Then why do you sound nervous? Her eyes flicker. Just a second, but I catch it. That's all I need. Delusional, she snaps. Too fast, too defensive. Maybe, I let the word linger, light, almost teasing. Or maybe you're not as untouchable as you think. For the first time, she falters. Just for a breath, the mask slips. I rise slowly, deliberately, with the composure of someone who already knows the endgame. Enjoy your throne while it lasts, Sam. Nothing stays the same forever. I leave her in silence, her gaze drilling into my back as I cross the threshold. Outside, the tension leaks from my shoulders like smoke. Around me, employees glance up, half curious, half nervous. Some offer tentative smiles, others quickly avert their eyes. They know, they feel it. The balance of power is shifting. Derek waits by the curb, leaning against his car, casual but alert. His eyes scan me, searching for an answer before I give it. How did it go? He asks. Sliding my sunglasses into place, I exhale slowly. She's predictable. And his voice is cautious. I let a smirk curl at my lips. She's scared. That night, the game sharpens its teeth. I sit in the shadows of an upscale steakhouse, across from Richardson, one of the company's oldest and most calculating shareholders. The air smells of charred steak and oak-aged bourbon. He studies me over the rim of his glass, eyes dissecting me, weighing profit against risk. Finally, he leans back. So, Maddie, he says, voice deliberate, what exactly are you proposing? I swirl the wine in my glass, letting the crimson cling to the edges before I sip, setting it down with care. A safety net. I answer smoothly. For you, for the company. We both know Brooke and Company wasn't built on Sam's vision. Investors trusted me to steer the ship. Now she's reckless, dragging us toward the rocks. He strokes his chin, thoughtful. And what makes you so sure she'll fail? I hold his gaze, unflinching. Because she thinks the title makes her untouchable. The moment she overreaches, when she moves without investor consent, the illusion will collapse. And when it does, you'll need someone ready to pick up the pieces. Silence. He doesn't commit, not yet. But I see the flicker of intrigue in his eyes. Curiosity is the first crack. I've slipped my foot through the door. Later that night, across the city, Sam sits alone in her office, the glow of her computer bathing her in sterile light. Her empire feels colder in silence. Then her phone buzzes. And I know, because I planted it. She's about to read what I've prepared. A month passes, and the war I fought has faded into whispers in boardrooms and headlines now buried under fresher scandals. But the truth of it lingers inside me, heavy and sharp. Tonight I stand before an auditorium that hums with expectation. The lights are hot, almost blinding. The crowd stretching wider than I can take in. Business leaders, young entrepreneurs, and the press fill every seat, their eyes fixed on me, waiting for numbers, projections, and safe corporate promises. My fingers curl around the podium, grounding me. I take a breath. When I speak, my voice carries steady, low but unwavering. A year ago, I believed success meant winning at all costs. I begin. A ripple of surprise moves through the room. They expected spreadsheets and forecasts. They didn't expect confession. I thought power was the only thing that mattered, that control was the only way to secure a future. For a moment silence holds. I let it. I let them feel the weight of what I am about to unravel. Then I soften my tone, let the steel in me show through honesty. But I was wrong. The quiet deepens. The auditorium leans in. Leadership, I continue, isn't about power, it's about vision, about trust, about building something that lasts beyond ego. And sometimes, I pause, feeling my father's absence, Sam's lingering shadow, Derek's steady presence at my back. It's about knowing when to let go. Images flash through my mind like cuts of a film I never wanted to star in. Sam smirking as she slid into my chair. Derek placing documents in my hand like weapons. My father watching from the sidelines, silent when I needed him most. The boardroom vote that stripped me bare. And finally the slow, deliberate reclaiming of what I refused to lose. I push the memories aside and meet the gaze of the audience. Brook and Company is no longer just my father's legacy. I declare, my chin high, my voice sharper now. It is proof that resilience builds empires, that reinvention wins wars, that no one, not even those who believe you're finished, can define you. Applause erupts, echoing off the walls like thunder. They clap not just for me, but for what I've become. Later in my office, the echoes still linger, reverberating in the pit of my chest. Congratulations flood my inbox. Requests stack higher than I can answer. But for once the weight on my shoulders doesn't feel crushing. It feels earned. It feels mine. I pour myself a drink, the amber liquid catching the city lights beyond my window, and let silence finally settle. That's when I notice it. An envelope sleek and black, placed neatly on my desk like a trap, waiting to be sprung. No name, no seal, just presence. I slide it open, and inside is a single card. An invitation to a startup launch, and scrawled at the bottom, in familiar handwriting, "See you at the top." S. For a long beat, I simply stare at it, then laughter bubbles out of me, soft, wry, inevitable. Of course, even now, she refuses to vanish. Even now, she circles me, a shadow I cannot shake. And I wonder, will Sam and I ever stop orbiting each other? Or are we destined to be locked in this endless dance of rivals, twin flames fueled by destruction and ambition? I set the card down, exhaling slow, steady. I don't know what comes next, but I do know one thing. I'm ready for it. I walk to the window, the city sprawling beneath me, vast and unyielding. Bring it on, I whisper, my breath fogging the glass. Life isn't just about winning, it's about resilience. About fighting for what's yours, and knowing when to let go. Every betrayal, every wound, every loss, they've carved me into who I am. Strength isn't about never falling, it's about rising, every time they try to bury you. And if my journey has taught me anything, it's this: your worth isn't measured by what's taken from you, but by how you rise from the ashes of it all. I raise my glass to the skyline, to the war I've fought, to the wars still waiting, to Sam, to me, to whatever comes next. And if you've walked every step of this story with me, if you've felt the fire, the fight, the scars, then stay with me, because this isn't the end. It's only the beginning. Subscribe, and I'll show you just how far resilience can take you.